Derek would be in my ear at games or in practice, and he would see things that I wouldn't see, which goes to every coach. But he could also kind of talk me off the ledge sometimes, because I don't know if you know this or not, but as Forrest has alluded, I would get pretty upset on the sidelines. And 90% of the time is at the refs. And, sometimes the kids, but it was always in love. It was love. Yeah, it was, if you don't catch this ball, I'm going to wring your neck in love. That's the way it was. But, I appreciate it. Next up is Mr. Doyle, who took over offense because for as much as I love football, I'm not an offensive-minded kind of guy. I like offense, but I love defense. I love it. I just always wanted to hurt people on defense. So after that first game, when I was trying to do offense and defense and not doing either one of them well at all, Tommy stepped up and said, hey, I can take offense, and I just kind of threw everything at him and said, it's yours. So stepped up, helped us out. Once again, full-time job, coming out, got, coach and training Newt over here. He's going to be our next coach one day, but I appreciate it. Next up is Sean McGinty. Sean has helped out for years. He has, he's the one that secured the field for us this year at Bible Baptist. He was running a lot of interference with not interference, but he was the go-between with us in the church. I have a hard exterior in meetings, and it shows sometimes, and it's just from what I do in the construction world. So Sean was hey, let me talk to him and you go do something else. And I was like, hey, no problem. But, for the amount of work he had to do at the field, even afterwards, when we all cleaned, but Sean was always there till the very end, and would go back and make sure everything was perfect for his church and for our reputation. So that goes a long way, because I didn't want to be the guys that on our last game of the season to run out and have trash everywhere and be like, well, they were just fronting for the first 3 games, and then that fourth one they didn't care. So I appreciate everyone's helping that, and I appreciate Sean helping us out as well in coaching and trying to keep old man Eli healthy. So and then next is Mr. Crosby, Will Crosby. All right. If there was a coach's award for Mr. Enthusiasm, it would be Mr. Crosby. Always smiling, always helping, always stepping in. And as far as I have been told, right, this is your first year coaching, first year kind of being around it. Yeah. So, football is like a brutal, violent game of chess, and there's a lot going on, and he stepped up and helped us out. He helped out with the linemen, after we finally got our sled, which I think you secured, Sean secured it, and then him and Sean, Will and Sean both, got the linemen on it for as long as we needed them. So, I just appreciate it, because there's, as much as I love it, there's no way I could have done it at all by myself. No way. So I just really, really appreciate the help. So if you would, please give the coaches another round of applause. Okay, speed it up. Okay. Okay. So I got to speed it up. Yeah. So we'll do it all at once. Okay. So I wanted to get away from player of the year, most improved. The whole team's improved. Every single person involved in this is improved. Every parent, everyone. So we all get most improved. But I wanted to go more to a more traditional system. So what we're going to do, and there are criteria, and next year there'll be more criteria that will be very well outlined. But this year, so what we're doing is participation and letters. A lot of these guys may not even know what a letter is, but back in my day, that's what you fought for. So I'm going to go participation first, and then we will go letters. So Jet Bazemore. Yeah, we will. Appreciate it. Stepped up, called him the hammer. There were some times that I wanted him in there, but we had Riley in there, and it was just kind of back and forth. They each had their attributes, and we tried to use him as much as possible, but he's going to be one of the ones that's coming. Hayden Brackett. Hayden showed up, and the first thing he did was got in a fight with Riker. So I love it. The bad part of it was I was like, let him fight. But because I thought they pull the best out of each other, which they do. But I thank you for your help. Jacob Crosby. First year player, and I didn't know it. So that shows you. He showed up. He gave his all. He didn't. A lot of times he didn't know, and I didn't know he didn't know. So that's a good thing. He tried. He did his best, and he'll be better. Spencer Gallow. Yeah, Spencer. No, he's a great kid. And I tell you, I as an 8th grader coming in the freshman year, I really look for Spencer to be doing some big things next year. He's pretty fearless. He really is. So it's going to be exciting next year. And if he gets half the size of his dad, it's going to be even better. Seth Poyer's not here. So you can hold that. Seth, just so everyone knows, Seth's a great kid. Last year was his first year, and he played about 3 games. So this year was his 2nd year. He was enthusiastic, wanted to be there, but just, he just needed a couple more years, and it would be great. Tyler Shepard. Tyler is another 8th grader that I look forward to next year. Same thing. He was fearless. Brought it when he needed to, and I'm looking for big things out of Tyler next year. And then the last participation is Colin Wood. Colin has the knowledge. Unfortunately, he's old like Eli, and his knee is shot. But, I now that we figured out, when I would tell the other coaches, man, I know he's faster. Even Colin would be like, hey, you always tell me I'm faster. Now that we know what's wrong, you wait. You just wait. Okay, here we will start the varsity letters. First, Matthew Gibson. Matthew is the one that's very enthusiastic, and he really is. He was kind of, there's 2 people, and I'll mention the other one whenever his turn comes, but 2 people that were really the anchor of the team in regards to the team. What they didn't know is that, I would read their text every now and then off Colin's phone. Colin didn't even know it. So it's not on Colin, but what I have to say is that our group of players, as parents, you should be very proud if you didn't know it, because there's no harsh language, there's no bad language, and they were all uplifting all year, but Matt was the one. So I appreciate that. Jacob Bazemore. So Jacob is like the quiet, but man, when I saw him show up, and then he's coming back next year, I'm very excited. And all year long, I gave him grief about not getting a pick 6. So that'll have to show up next year. But I look forward to having you, and we'll do it next year. Next up, Charles Birchfield. So I'll do a funny story because I know people have to go. So Charles, at the last game of the season, had a girl on his shoulders. It was all good. Everybody was around. It was in public, and so it wasn't, nothing bad. And I went over there and like, Charles, we've got a game. I was just like, Charles played the best game of the year that year. And I'm like, man, why didn't we do this beginning of the season? But Charles, showed up in his Hawaiian shirts and, went to his own drummer. But when it came to game time, Charles was there. He brought it every time. Oh, my boy. Riker Brackett. So Riker, what he alluded to is last year, I saw something in Riker, and I bet you I screamed at him every single practice. And run him. Every time he backtalk, run. This year he comes out, and he kind of started out a little bit. And I'm like, man, we're going to run again. And then about the third game, I think, the light switch flipped. And then I was like, that's the Riker I knew was in there. And the game he got hurt on, I was watching him on the play he got hurt on, and it was a passing play. He blocked his first guy, and then as he started to back up, his arms went to about 7 feet wide, and he was hitting everybody as they were coming. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be great. And then he gets hurt. But it's there, and I'm looking forward to having him next year on the line as well. Or at quarterback, it depends. He says he wants to be quarterback. Camden Brower. So Camden, smart quarterback, smart defensive tackle or defensive back, is there all the time, knew the game, and I probably yelled at him as much as anyone else. But he's just a smart player, and it's just one of those things to where me and his dad both were pulling the best out of him. And it wasn't a great situation for him this year because him and LeBron, who's not here, were just right there neck and neck all year long. And that's my fault. I should have drawn the line in the sand earlier, but we didn't, and he never complained and never faltered. So I got to hand it to him. It wasn't a great situation to be a good quarterback and then just kind of go on this seesaw all year long. So I commend him, and I appreciate it. Chance Causey. So, as Chance said, I stuck with him, and we all did, because we saw it there. We knew that he could be the center. We knew that he had it in him, but there was just a lot going on sometimes. At center, you got to think about, okay, if I got this guy, plus I got to get the ball back, and is he 5 yards back? Is he 7 yards back? So it's a difficult position. And we didn't give up on him because we knew he could do it, and there was no one harder on it than himself. The one thing I can say about Chance is at the beginning of the year, I said, Chance, you call the huddle. And last year we tried that, and it was, our huddle diminished. But Chance kept everybody in check. He screamed huddle, you knew where he was, and he snapped the ball. He had a great second half of the season. The first half, it is what it is. He was learning. It wasn't any fault of his. It's just a learning process, and he did a phenomenal job. So thank you. AJ's not here, and I know people have to leave, so I won't go into anything, but AJ's great. Okay. Newt Doyle. Coach number 5. Newt's great. It was kind of funny. There'd be, I don't know how many times coaches would be talking, and we're like, we're not like talking about the kids, but we're talking about the kids. Like, okay, do we need to put this guy here, this guy? And we're, doing those chess moves. And we look, and there's Newt. Well, I do this, dude. Get up with the team, So, but no, Newt's very knowledgeable and has put in the work. And he's going to come back next year, and it's going to be a great year for Newt next year too as well. So I think we might let him coach a little bit next year. Next is Daniel Ferguson. I can say a lot about Daniel, and I'll tell you, last year he became my favorite. He's still my favorite, even though my kid's right here. But he's, a smile on his face, doesn't get upset, does what you ask of him. And this year we asked a lot of him. I think he played about 3 or 4 positions on the offensive line, and from tight end to center, everything in between. And then on defense as well. And that's hard to do, and that takes, quite the mindset. So I appreciate it. Good job, Daniel. Look for you next year. Riley Ferguson. Another one that played all over, everywhere. And once again, asked him to do something. It wasn't any kind of back talk. It was, yes, sir, yes, coach, whatever coach told him. So, I appreciate it. And he's developing very well. And I'm thinking that, with Cam next year, working out at quarterback, Riley, if we had more time this year, I would have had a 3rd string quarterback, but definitely we will put you up there and see if we can't get a first stringer out of you or do something. But Riley's got a lot of potential I'm looking forward to. Forrest Fretwell. So Forrest, I came out here a year and a half ago probably, and did a little shopping, and I remember Forrest stopped me on the porch, and he was like, "Hey coach, if I want to be a starter, what do I got to do?" And you know, Forrest is coming from 8th grade up, and Forrest last year, and don't take offense, was Colin's size. And about the time he talked to me, maybe he grew 3 inches. And I'm like, well, you gotta work out, you gotta do this, blah blah blah. Just do that, and we'll see. Okay, you think I'll start at linebacker? Forrest, this is what you got to do. But then he shows up the first practice, and I look, I'm like, bang! And I even pulled out one of the old brochures or programs, and I'm like, kid's put on like 40 pounds. And then, get it if you want, it's fine. No, but no, Forrest, as we all know, gave 110% every single play, every single practice, and that's what it takes. And you know, it speaks volumes. The one time that he was hurt, I can't remember if it was where it was exactly. It was late in the season, and it was like 4th quarter. And I'm like, all right, you're done. Just sit out. You know. No. Oh, sorry. All right. So, you know. Yeah, and no, you know, I get some text, but Forrest was pretty consistent. How do we do? How do I do? This kind of thing, and what can I do better? So, you know, that self-reflection is how you get there. Next is Brooks Julius. Yeah, Mr. Smiles. I bet you he said hi, coach, to me 1,000 times, whether it was in a game or at practice. And that's nice. I mean, you know, being a coach at first, you're like, come on, you know, Brooks, let's get your mindset. And then after a while, you're like, dude, you didn't say hi to me. What's going on? So, but Brooks is, from last year to this year, when he showed up, he looked like a bodybuilder from last year, and then, you know, as always, got the speed. Brooks is another one we put everywhere. We had him at linebacker, we had a nose tackle, running back, receiver, you name it. Never complained, and that's what it takes. Mr. Stephen Latham, sorry. Lincoln, okay. So, you know, with Stephen, another one that would come up after practice and would self-reflect and say, hey, I'm sorry for a bad practice. I'm like, no, you know, you don't have to tell me sorry. You're doing great. Just continue doing what you're doing, and as long as you see it, you know, correct it. You're the one that can correct it. We can point it out, but if you're seeing it, just fix it. And he did. And, you know, the biggest thing is I think we've got an incredibly nice group of kids, and Steven's one that's super nice, and you're kind of like, okay, now's the time you turn that off and go hurt somebody. And he would, but he'd be like, oh, sorry. So we're gonna get some fire in his belly next year and make him mean. So next up, Mr. Eli McGinty. Eli, you know, he came in and was talking about being a running back or something, and but we tried. He, you know, lineman extraordinaire, whether it's defense or offense. Unfortunately, got hit with some injuries this year that I think, you know, get these all fixed this year. He's coming back next year, and I think will be a big asset, no pun intended, for you know, the line, or, you know, get a little speed. We might do some Jerome Bettis in the backfield. You just never know. But we thank you. Next is Ian Schrader. That's another one I didn't know had never played until just now, because he showed up and he would salute me, and I'm like, thank you, but never said I can't, and never complained. And we threw him in at nose tackle simply because he's just mean as a snake when you get him on the field. Okay, so you know, I appreciate it, and I think next year that once again we'll you know, be tearing him up, because it's a lot to learn, and he did, and it would be go right, go left, you got to figure it out, and he would, and we appreciate it. All right, AJ Crawford. So AJ, between him and LeBron, I don't know who's funnier, but AJ showed up, and we knew what we were getting with AJ. Very consistent running back, and then this year, in I think it was the first game, he turned into a really, really good running back where he would just lower the head and hammer away. And unfortunately, he got hurt when he was having a great game again. So, bugs are killing me. So, I'm hoping he comes back next year. I haven't heard, so we'll see. But if he does, he's got a place, and we know what we're going to get with him. And we appreciate everything he did for us this year, and I wish you hadn't had an injury. So, thank you, AJ. Last but not least, LeBron Wilson. So LeBron, that was the other half of the quarterback controversy. And the thing about LeBron was he didn't want to play quarterback, didn't even think about quarterback, and it was my pushing at the first or second practice when I saw him throw. I'm like, you really need to try out a quarterback. And he did, and there was a lot to learn, and he brought a lot to the table. He helped us when we needed to, and when we needed Cam in there, he said okay, and he played another position. So there wasn't, I know that sometimes that's tough, but it builds character, and I appreciate it. Once again, another person that I hope comes back next year. I don't know if they will, and if they don't, wish them the best of luck. But as a whole, I just want to say thank you to everyone again. This is your 2020 Hurricanes. I hope to have everyone back next year. Thank you. Okay, hold on.
Because a lot of people talk about you being angry.
Oh, okay. So guys, listen. So correction is not criticism. I played for a great high school coach and would consistently get asked how I handled him yelling at me. And this wasn't me. This is like Meredith found.
Yeah.
He wasn't yelling at me. He was holding me to a higher expectation because he knew my goals. Be worried when your coach stops talking to you. And that's true. So don't go. We've got parting gifts. Brooks Julius is going to, you want to come up, and he has Bibles, is that correct, to hand out to everyone?
Yep. And then we're giving you guys a hurricane program to keep as a memento. And then we also have a gift for everybody.
Yep.
So here,
I will call out your name, and then you just think
we're going to do this one first.
that's Colin.
When we head out. Everybody gets a duffel bag with their name on it.
Now you'll know where the stink's coming from.
Yeah.
Come from the back.
Other coaches, you have anything you want to add?
There.
Okay, here's the Bible.